Yeah?
Yes, and I won't have access to the Facebook group to chime in or see anything.
And we're not,
So,
yeah, well, we're not in the group, so they'll have to come over here.
so it's on your page.
We're on Morgan Bohanner. Because that's how Zoom automatically connects to Facebook for me. So, all right, let's see who comes on. So today, just to start it off, we're talking about real talk. This is our deep dive from politics to purpose, how the election reflects a rising consciousness. And the reason Laura and I decided to come on with this was because we were having a conversation last week and just kind of talking about what's going on in the world, which we all know what's going on in the world and everybody's in different places with it. And this doesn't have anything to do with policies and presidential people. This has to do with the effect of the election and how the connection of what is happening in our world to the rising consciousness, which if you're familiar with the Great Awakening, if you're a spiritual person, if you're kind of interested and want to learn more, this is kind of the space that we want to hold. We are starting a podcast called the Raise Your Vibe Tribe. So this is kind of one of those spaces that we're kicking it off because it was an appropriate time. And I'm sure everybody out there has a lot of different feelings and emotions and all kinds of things going on about what's happening in our world right now. And I as well, right? I think everybody does. But when Laura and I spoke, it put such an amazing, different spin and twist on it for me to kind of shift my perspective out of the state that I was in. And I was like, well, thank you. And I call Laura my sunshine all the time because Laura has an amazing way of getting you to kind of twist it to see the purpose behind things that are happening. And I thought that that would be a really cool thing to kind of kick off our Raise Your Vibe Tribe, because that's what our goal and our mission is, to raise the vibration of consciousness. And so this is our first talk, and we were supposed to be live in our community, in our group, and it didn't work out that way, but we're going to do it anyways, and we can always repost and share over there if you miss it. But we will be here for a while, so sit tight and hang in there. And Laura, go ahead and introduce yourself, talk a little bit, and we'll get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, so you definitely brought up a really good point to just kind of make an intro here. My name's Laura. Hello, everyone. And I I am not a political science major at all. Like that, this is nothing that is in my wheelhouse, but especially within the past maybe decade, I've gotten more and more interested in not just the politics, but it's been like it's the rising consciousness of the collective. And when I say collective, I mean everybody out there. So it's just people are starting to wake up to little things and different, systems that are happening in the world, whether it's the government, whether it's mainstream media, whether it's the food, which is my specialty, that's my wheelhouse. There's so many education. There's just so many different facets to it. So that's where I've been like, wow, this is so interesting. And with your point that you said about me kind of showing a perspective that most people don't see, I love the gray area. So people are often black and white, right? You just see it one way and then that's your way and you're stuck to it and you're married to it. And that's just like, that's it. You have no other, opening up. And it works on the polar opposite end of that spectrum too. You're just dead set and you see it only your way. And I'm an Aries sun and a Libra moon, which are polar opposites of each other. So guess what? I get to see both sides of the coin very easily and every retrospective in between. So I love the gray area. I love not just the front door, the back door, but that side door, the secret door. Like there's so many other avenues to look at a situation that has nothing to do with just the basic black and white issue. Like, I like to go deep. So with that being said, yeah, I mean, our conversation last week was definitely, and I'm not one to gloat or share my political perspective because I feel like a lot of times that's private and it's an inside issue. But I mean, I think I'm getting a little bit more ballsy.
See, and so that's the thing, because for both of us, right? Because I think it's very normal for us to want to kind of stay in that comfort space of bringing love and light, and we don't want to ruffle anyone's feathers. So we don't really want to start controversy. We don't want to start trouble. We don't want to engage in any kind of stuff. So to even be going on and talking about consciousness, one, some people look at you like you're crazy, right? They're like, the Great Awakening, what are you talking about, right? So there's that. And then politics is another one where people are like, it's a very touchy, both of them are very touchy subjects. So coming on and talking about it and not in a right or wrong way. And that's what I think is so important in the conversation that we're having is to change perspective or open the minds, because here's the deal. We are in a great awakening. Here's the deal. We need to help consciousness raise, and that's what we're here to do. And that was kind of, remember, where our conversation started, was because I was like, I'm so disappointed because I thought we were so much farther along than we are. And that's what makes me sad, because I want to see everybody wake up, but I want everybody to see things in a bigger scope, right? A bigger picture, and to really wake up and open your eyes and get out of the tunnel vision. And I was very disheartened at how far away we are from that. And I think where we stand right now is proof of that. And that's when you came in and you're like, but so share your but, because it's why we're here.
Gosh, yeah. So many things. First off, like, I want to say that I have I'm never going to point fingers. You're right. He's wrong. It's everything. We're living in this world where everything is so polarized. And I just feel like the ultimate goal for everybody, no matter where you stand, is unity, community, love, compassion, hope, all of those things. But in order to get there, usually it takes something chaotic and something catastrophic. Nobody makes changes in the comfort zone. So when you actually are in the middle of that chaos, I always get excited for people, because it's like, guess what? You're really close to waking up. You're really close to that epiphany, whatever that next level is. And we're never, officially there. It's like a continual flow of like, oh, I had another wake up moment. I had another wake up moment. And I feel like my evolution in life, like I can't wait even for more. I feel like there's just so much more that I'm still learning. I feel like the more I learn, the less I realize I know.
Right?
So it's just a continual.
I love that you can say that, though, because a lot of people are really strong and like, this is what I know. And they don't shift and like see something and be like, just let me think about that. Let me dive in. So I think it's great to be able to admit we don't know everything. And also something we thought we knew might be different, might change. It's not always going to be the same.
And I feel like with both, presidents, it was like so extreme of people taking sides. It was just so powerful that they were married to their decision, for whatever reason, and that's okay. But I like to bring it right back to like neutrality and bring it right back. Like, why be so attached to your one side and your one position and be so glued to it? Because that means something outside of you is taking power over you.
Right.
It's in control. So you're giving away your power to that one thing. If it's like saying, if I don't get married, if I don't have this job, if I don't, have 3 kids, then I'm going to be like sad and depressed. It's like, wait a minute, like you shouldn't give your power away to some external factor.
Right.
So bringing it back to neutrality, which is right in the middle, you're letting go of that attachment to whatever side happens, and having faith and knowing that sometimes it's like a movie. Okay, so you're watching a movie and you're in the middle of it, and it's like that climax happens. You're like, oh my God. And you think like the bad guy is actually the good guy, and you're just like in the middle of it and you're not sure how it ends yet. So I feel like that's where we're at right now. Give it a chance to play out and have faith that it's happening for our highest good.
And a reason.
That faith, Like you're, setting that intention that it's going to happen the way it should unfold, the way it's going to, and it may not look like the way you want it to. So like a lot of things, like you could, say that you manifested, X, Y, and Z, but it doesn't necessarily look like exactly the way you had planned it.
And it doesn't come about the way you think it's going to. And that's in any scenario in life. Like you can work, work, work and drive it in, but if you don't give space and listen and try to really pay attention, you may be driving it the wrong direction, but you're so hell bent on it being the way you think it should be and not opening your mind to realizing that maybe you don't know the right way, but not the right way. I don't want to say the right way, but you don't know the way that it's meant to work out, timing and just the order of things. And maybe it's meant bigger than what you thought. It's just and I've experienced that in several parts of life where you drive and you drive and you drive and it's not working out. It's not working out. It's not working out. And you're like, all right, let me pull back
Yeah.
and
Let-
let what's happening around me happen so that
Surrender.
I can see where I need to navigate.
Surrender. Yeah, surrender that control. And then I also firmly believe, because let me tell you, I'll just be straight up. Maybe when Trump came into the picture. So, it's been a good eight
Long
years.
term.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
As a presidential candidate.
Mhm.
Like he's a little harsh. He's very abrupt.
Abrasive,
Yes.
aggressive.
And so the way I, kind of gradually looked at it, I was like, what I did like about him is the fact that he was real and raw. Like he was being his authentic self. So no matter what, he's going to be like, hey, you guys, if you don't want to come with me, then, F you, like something like that. Like
Yeah.
that was just him being him. He wasn't memorizing a teleprompter. He wasn't reading a script. He wasn't handled by politicians. And the way I feel about that is because I've never liked politics, because I feel like they're so scripted and everything is like, oh, I'm this person and I'm on a pedestal and I'm so memorized. And it's like, that's not real to me. Like I love rawness, and no matter, even if I don't like you, I can appreciate the authenticity behind that realness and the rawness. So that was one thing that kind of like evolved throughout the years, that I was like, you know what? I don't really care for him. I don't, that's not the point. The point is that I admired his authenticity. And then when he came into, even more recent picture, I was like, he's bringing the chaos. Like he's not here to be the catalyst of harmony and balance and
No, he's a
peace.
pot stirrer.
That's what we all want in the long term.
Yeah.
But he's here to activate something and rip that band-aid off faster, because in other ways it could be that slow rip off where it's like people just don't get it. People don't wake up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's where, in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're so far away from where my heart wants the world to be. And the world, I'm talking about the world, because we're all one.
Yeah.
And when you were able to say that, like, this is what we need for us to wake up. So if we went in with the peace and the nice and the people would still stay, there's not enough change. There's not enough grit. There's not enough like in your face to really make you force the change. Because
People,
that's what we all come across in life. Like a lot of people, you got to hit rock bottom before you're like, all right, something's got to give, right? And so that was the perspective that you gave me in that, well, this is a catalyst for change. This is that stir the pot, bring the chaos, because that's what's going to create the shift.
yeah, and I think one thing that I didn't even mention to you, because I kind of wanted to keep it for this conversation, is that and I don't want to go too deep into like the labels of it, because people can call it different things, but um let's just say like the negative polarity, whatever that is, if you want to call it like dark players, like the deep state, some people could say like the elites, the Illuminati, like whatever you want to call it. Like I feel that there is a participating 1% of people, and I'm not even sure what that even means. We wouldn't even know their names. They're not somebody that is up at the front. They're not the face. They're the behind the scenes 1% that are kind of controlling the whole narrative of all the systems that are slowly crumbling, that are slow. And the reason why they're crumbling is because they're no longer like relevant anymore, because we are moving into, we're shifting vibration, we're getting higher. So I feel like those systems, and they were built under power, under greed, under things that are not stable anymore. They are finally melting away and they're finally crumbling. So in order for new systems to come about, we have to build them and create them under love, under compassion, under service to others, and so that's what
Unity.
I'm sorry.
Unity.
Yes. And that's why this is kind of like a completion to a cycle,
Mhm.
and you're
Mhm.
evolving to a whole new world. And if you want to call it new earth, or there's just so many labels that are out there that I try not to, once again, I try not to get attached to any of those labels. But the bigger picture is those systems are finally falling away, and the
Yeah.
new ones are being built. And sometimes it doesn't look exactly the way we had envisioned it, but that 1%, that negative polarity, is finally like getting exposed. So they're exposed, and I have trust and faith that exposure, we're in the middle of it right now. So like fast forward like 20 years, we're going to look back at this moment and be like, oh my gosh, like, can you believe we lived through that pivotal moment
Yeah.
in life, and
Yeah.
like where we were and where we are? So I just kind of see like that whole vision, and I zoom out, always zoom out the lens and look at the bigger picture, not just this little sliver, what's happening right here, right now in front of my face.
Yes.
So like that gives me so much like faith and hope, and like I don't know, I just get very excited because I'm like, we need this new earth,
Yeah.
because the old is just, it's not gonna stand anymore.
But it's also, up to the people to come together and to see these things too. Like in the spiritual world, forever things have been predicted to be a certain way, right? You have mediums, you have psychics, you have people that, see things. And even before COVID, it was like something's going to happen, something big is going to happen, and it's going to start breaking people down. And I would say, I'm like, I don't know what it's going to be, something, but going to be big. And then, COVID hit, and that was pretty freaking big. And that changed a lot of people's lives. It changed the world. So but like they had to be forced to sit in their home by themselves and
Go
right?
within,
There was no other choice.
go within. Yeah.
And so, when we talk about the rising consciousness, like if you're a part of the Great Awakening, and if you're a part of everybody, the rebirth of society and our planet and our veil and rising consciousness, this is very widely spoken of as far as the direction in which we're going. It's not new, it's not quiet. It just depends on where you're listening and what you're listening to and how open your mind is, because we need people to open their minds to possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the end result. We don't know the end answer, but there's a lot of possibilities out there. And the more opening that we can get from people, and the more less resistance, I
Yeah.
should say, because there's a lot of resistance, and just kind of, not being so fixed mindset. I'm a mindset coach, right? So I look at it as like a fixed mindset, like, nope, it's got to be this way and nothing else is going to work. And we've got to stop that. We have to stop that thought process, and we have to open up to the growth mindset, which we've been talking about forever. And it's not only to be taken as a personal growth mindset, right? It's everything around us. And if we can all kind of open to growth and open to new and surrender to what's happening around us, It's very, I mean, I don't like to use the word ignorant. It just means, just like to think that things aren't going to change and things are going to stay the same forever is really like it never has before. So I don't know in what world that thought process comes from because we have evolved from forever, from the beginning of time. We have done nothing but evolve. So why wouldn't we be evolving into better now? Right. So I think it's like just being hopeful and being aware and opening your mind to new ideas and new understandings and new way of things. And that's in everything.
It
People
is
are changing.
every department. And that's like why I think it frustrates me a lot. Um, like you just said, like when people are so dead set and married to their one view, and I have recently, like, I think triggered a lot of people more, but it's okay because I'm doing it like with love, and my intention is to help, and I want to be in service. So I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. Is
No.
it's not an emotional, like, I just feel like I'm getting more where people are like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound real or right, and I'm like, but just hear it out. Like, it doesn't mean you even have to agree with me. Like, it doesn't
Sure.
mean that. It's just that, like, I hear you, maybe that might be a possibility. And even like with history, like, I feel like all the systems are set up for us to not really succeed. They're set up for so we can be low and kept confined in a box and not really know like our internal power and our strength and what we are capable of. And so I feel like since all those old systems are finally, depleting, that the new ones are going to empower us. They're going to help us. They're going to give us, like, that strength inside where we have our gifts to share with others that are going to help the collective.
Yeah.
So that's just, I think, where I stand with that, with the whole thing. And I feel like the more, this is what I wrote down because this is a good one. The more stubborn humanity is to change, the more drastic change is needed.
Yes. Yeah.
So here we are.
And we do need change. We do need change. And no matter what direction it goes in politics, it does whatever direction it goes, there's going to be change. Regardless, there's going to be change. And we don't live in a world where everybody has the same opinion. And it's insane to think that everybody's going to think and believe the same way. And to feel that it is any one individual's responsibility to change somebody else's mind in how they think and feel. So people take that role on as if they have to change your mind,
Yeah,
right?
no, I mean, that kind of shows where your triggers are. And that's a good, like, working on your own shadows, which is like your own ego, which is, yeah, you got to work on those dark parts of yourself that we don't necessarily like,
Right.
that we're trying to just shove under the carpet. That's
You
kind of,
shove them under the carpet, but you project them,
yeah, but we're not willing to face them head on and actually heal them.
right?
So that's where, like, that anything that triggers you shows you where you might need some healing in that, aspect.
For sure. For sure.
So, and that, I think that's what's happening right now in the world. No matter what department you want to focus on, it's showing us where we need the healing in a personal level, as a collective level. And I think there is no changing anybody else's mind, and that's okay. Like, and that's the beauty of it. Like, I don't want like a world filled of robots. I
Right.
want everybody with their own unique, like, authenticity and their own gift to bring and like make that perfect puzzle piece so it connects with everybody else's puzzle piece, like, beautifully,
And
instead
that's
of,
what the rising consciousness is.
yep, exactly. And so that's the beauty behind it, is that you get to be yourself and speak your own truth and whatever holds truth to you. And that can change and evolve over time. Just because you said one thing 4 years ago doesn't necessarily mean that that's the same way you feel now, or
Mhm.
8 years ago, or 10 years ago. So, yeah, like, even getting reminded of that with my own past, where somebody's like, I remember this about you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's embarrassing. Like, like, I can't,
Absolutely.
and I'll be upfront about it just because I'm like, wow, like, and it shows me like where I was and then where I am now and how much evolution took place in between. So it's like, dang, I'm pretty dang proud of myself. And everybody
Absolutely.
should be too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I notice that all the time, working with people every single day and talking about things in life and scenarios people are in. And I can always trace back to a time when I'm like, I was like that. I used to be like that. I used to do that. And there's things that you can look back and you're like, geez, I'm not very proud of that. Like, I wish I could do that differently. But, you can't live life like that way. You just learn and you move forward and you learn and you be better. But that's from looking at yourself instead of saying, no, I was only like that because everyone around me was this, and this. And that's really the difference between looking within and aligning with what's your truth and how you want to be and who you want to be. And it's a decision every single day. You make a decision versus just attaching yourself to this is who I am. This is what my belief is. And that's not going to change. And everybody else is the problem.
Yeah, well, that's pointing fingers and that's playing the blame game. So yeah, I mean, I definitely that's showing you where you need some healing, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying, anyone, me, anyone out there. So
Sure.
yeah.
So this whole crazy world we live in with this abrasiveness that we're going to be faced with, and we're going to be faced with a lot of chaos. I think we have some chaos coming,
And
and
it,
it's going to break down systems. It's going to break down society. It's probably going to cause more division with
for a short
for
period of time,
now. For
for a
now,
period of time. And then when people get sick of it, then they want to do something about it different.
there will be forcing hands.
Mm-hmm.
There will be forcing hands, forcing energies. The forcing energies are the hands, but I am hopeful, and I know that once you and I had our conversation last week, I was like, okay, if this is what it takes to wake everybody up, but I'm definitely
Well,
holding space for that. Like that's my goal. That's what I work with people on every single day. And so I want everyone to wake up. I want them to wake up now.
that's the I mean,
That's
that's the
on my
frustration part of it, but it's like, guess what? We still have like our own waking up to do in other avenues. So I just look at it as like, it's not up to us. It's not in our timing. Let it go, surrender. And then, like, even if the other party, Kamala, won, in my opinion, in my view, no matter what, I was not going to be attached. And I was going to be like, this is what the universe wanted in
Yeah.
order to move forward. So either side, I just looked at it as it was what we needed in order to move forward.
Yep. And so that's the thing. And I love that the title of our show was From Politics to Purpose, because one thing that I tell all my clients and I say all the time, if you can find purpose in something, it's a whole lot easier to move through the process of it than if you see no purpose and you just stick in that mindset of why. Like it's a victim mentality, essentially. This isn't a victim situation, but it's the mindset of one. But if you can find purpose and see purpose in everything that happens, it really makes the adjustment and the process a lot smoother, a lot easier, no resistance. And you're just like, okay, well, there's a reason, right? And if you can believe that and you can have faith that there's a reason that everything happens, then you can kind of sit back and just kind of, okay, I don't have to know the reason, right?
Exactly.
We don't have
Exactly.
to have all the answers. We just have to trust.
Mm-hmm. Like surrendering, just letting go of that. And it's okay. And I think another thing that I struggle with a lot lately is that my loved ones, my people around me, often like it's like I don't know how to console them or how to like say like it's gonna be okay. And there's just so much anger. So
Yeah.
I think that's like a hard part for me, but I've also found that just having compassion for where anybody is at
Yeah.
is the key,
Yeah.
because maybe you don't agree and that's totally okay, but you can have just an understanding of where they are and holding space.
Yeah, well, and also, just to anybody out there who does feel this emotional anger and frustration, and I want to put out a reminder that those are a couple things, very low vibrational feelings and energy. They're going to keep you in a low vibration. You're also putting that energy out to those around you, except those feelings are only hurting you. They don't change anything. So the best you can do for yourself and for the world is to find purpose, is to surrender, is to accept and go with the flow and trust the process. Because
Mhm.
if you're just going to sit and hold in your space feeling all these emotions, like let's remember that emotions are energy, and anger and frustration and all these feelings, sadness, whatever you're feeling, are is energy and it moves. Energy moves, right? So you can move through those feelings. You don't have to sit in them, you don't have to live in them, and you don't have to spew them out, right? Know that your feelings and your emotions are energy, that you have the ability and the power to move through you and move on with your life.
Yeah. And
I mean,
that,
I think that's important to remember for people.
yeah, and that negative energy that you hold on to, I mean, it can manifest into like physical ailments, you know? So when we get sick and it's like you're doing yourself such a disservice
Yeah.
to hold on to any of those emotions and mental ways of being. It's like letting it go.
Yeah. Well, and on that topic is like you attract what you put out,
Hmm.
right? So keep that in mind in life. If you're just putting out like negativity and you're talking shit and you're just got nothing good and positive to say, then what do you think you're going to get back in return from everything outside of you? Because you're creating your environment. So this is part of the Great Awakening, is waking up and opening your eyes to these exact things, so you don't have to hold on to that, because as a rising consciousness, we are all one and we are all trying to elevate. And as each one of us individually elevates ourselves, we're elevating the consciousness. So it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be a group of people, it can be you alone, like you, just you alone have the power and the ability to help raise consciousness through your thought patterns, through your energy that you're putting out, and through the work you do on your own self.
Exactly. It's a mirror. It's a mirror. So whatever it is that's reflecting back at you, like it's taking a look inside.
Yeah. And that's exactly what you started with, was saying stop giving your power away. So it kind of full circle came back around to that opening statement, was allowing all the outside sources that don't care about you.
Oh, why let it
They're not thinking about you. There is no energy spent on you, but you are all by yourself, internalizing it and taking it on as if this has become your life problem. And
go?
it's not. It doesn't have to be. So stepping back and separating yourself from everything outside of you, the only thing you control, which I tell everybody, is yourself. It's the only thing we have any control over is ourselves. We don't have any control over anything.
And I feel like that's what's happening right now in the world, where everybody is having to take that hard look in the mirror and it's not pretty. I've done it many of times.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard.
I'm still doing it on certain, levels where I'm just like, holy cow, like, and it's face it, or if you ignore it, it's gonna
And
eat
keep
you alive.
coming. Yeah,
It's
but
gonna,
it's going to keep showing up. It's going to keep showing up. It doesn't just go away. And that's where people get stuck on the hamster wheel, right? And we talk about the hamster wheel all the time. And this is what I do in coaching, is like, how do we get off the hamster wheel? Right? Like, well, how do we create new? Because you've got to create new before you can drop old, right? That's kind of the way we create behavior change. You got to create new.
yeah, I mean, there's a fine balance because you can't just let go of the old and then expect something new to
No.
just appear. But I mean, there's a real fine in between, like the scale of, creating something new and then letting go of something old. And it's kind of like, it's in simple terms, it's kind of like when you get rid of clothes and then all of a sudden you like get new clothes. You're like, wait a minute, I thought I just got rid of things. And it's kind of like, things come into your house where I'm just like, holy cow, I thought I just cleaned out my garage and now I have this whole new space for something that just came in the other day.
Yeah, you created space.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but creating change is not easy and it's not something that you could just do overnight. And generally speaking, psychologically speaking, for humans, once you start integrating new, it's a lot easier to let go of old. And oftentimes, sometimes it can be effortless. And that all depends on how deep you go and what we're talking about, because that's on all things, right? Creating new. That could be anything from your morning routine to your political beliefs. It can be, it can be a very, very broad scope here. So, but just knowing that you don't have to make all the change at one time. Like it's going to constantly show up and in different ways and at different times. And it's a process that we're forever evolving. We're never going to be done. There's not a day we're going to be like, I'm done.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm good for now. No, no, sorry.
People are like, oh, I'm healed. I'm like, oh, you're healed? Oh, okay. You're never healed. Like you're always healing because there's always things that come in different ways and present themselves in different ways. And it gets easier to learn to look at it and recognize it and the tools, and the practices. But at the beginning, it can be abrupt and difficult. And it comes in phases because you can't live in a state of constant healing. It's
Yeah.
hard.
And it's layers. It's like layers of an onion. And I just feel like even like with relationships, like if you haven't healed from the past relationship, you're just going to find another of the same in somebody else.
Yes.
So there ends up being a pattern there that if you don't actually face it in between, then you're really never going to get rid of the old issue, the old boyfriend, the old problem, because you're just going to attract it again.
Yeah. And because that change is within you, it's not within the outside. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what people think, oh, somebody different, it'll make a different scenario. But the problem is it's not the outside, it's in you because it's what you're attracting and how you're reacting and your involvement in that relationship, if that's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But that's always the confusion is just like moving. If I move, everything will be different. Well, you're still you. Whatever you got, you bring. So
Yep.
that's where, becoming aware and looking in the mirror. And I think it's just really, really an important message for everybody to think about. We've talked on a lot of things, is just that it really comes down to just you and focusing on being the best version of yourself and being open-minded and surrendering and allowing change
Mhm.
and trying to be okay with it because it's not easy. It's not easy for everybody. Some people like change more than others. Some people can't root down into anything and they need constant change because they can't root. Everybody's different. But to have an open mindset and to be ready for change because it's coming. It's
Mhm.
coming.
It's coming in hard.
It's coming in hard. It's so crazy to think about like where everything was. I started my awakening. I would say like I could time it out about 8 years ago. And the
Mhm.
difference between now and then, and there's stages of it, right? There's stages of it to where you want to preach it to everybody and you want to like all these things. And then it's just a light, it's just you. It just
Yep.
becomes who you are. And it's not something you need to shout from the rooftops anymore. And you just kind of are there to coach people who come into your path who are interested in the same thing. But at this point and this stage of the awakening and where we are and the transitions going on, I think that it is time for us to be a little more bold and talk about things that people don't maybe want to talk about and be okay and accept that there's going to be people that don't like it. And there's going to be people that really connect to it. And there's going to be people that are happy to hear it because maybe they feel the same way, but they're just a little afraid and don't know who to connect with or where to go with it. But change is happening, guys,
And
all around.
yeah, I agree with that so much of just speaking your truth,
Yeah.
um, having a voice, and it's okay if your truth changes from day to day. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
That's why you can't be married to one idea forever. It's like you keep evolving from that.
Could you imagine being married to one idea forever? Like my 20-year-old self? Thank
Yeah,
God I'm not.
bring myself back to a teenager? Heck no.
Oh, geez, man. They call it older and wiser, right? You get calmer, you relax a little more, you see what's important, but that's part of evolving. So if you're out there in your 40s or your 50s and you're still in the same mindset you were when you were in your 20s, it's time to do some work.
An issue.
Time to do some work. Yeah, yeah, because we do not need adults out here acting like teenagers. And we don't need adults out here acting like 21-year-olds. Like we need people to be okay with connecting to themselves, and it changes what you enjoy, it changes what you want to do, it changes how you respond to things, it changes the environment you're in, and that's really what people struggle with, is that change.
It's not easy or pretty.
It's so much better though.
It's so worth it.
It's so worth it. Like it's hard, but if you find the right community, and there's more communities now than there ever were before, of like-minded people in the same place, that it's not as lonely. It doesn't have to be as lonely. It doesn't have to be as uncertain. It doesn't have to be, you know, as hard as before. Like you just start seeking. You just start seeking things out. This would be something somebody would seek out. You know, if they're interested and they're looking, that's when you know you're ready for change. Is when you start seeking,
And then
right?
you attract your tribe too. So like you attract the people that are more like-minded in your wheelhouse, and it just makes this perfect like symbiotic flow of things where you don't have to pretend, you don't have to try, you don't have to fake. And I think that's where I'm especially at right now in my life.
Yeah.
Like I see fake people from a mile away and I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to participate.
Yeah.
And nobody should have to fake anything. So like be whoever it is that you are from your heart.
Yeah. And think about what you're giving back to the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I think like think about what you're adding value. Are you adding value? Like what value are you bringing? What are you bringing to the table to this earth, to
Well, and
human beings?
yeah, being of service for whatever it is that you specialize in.
Yeah, and that doesn't have to mean doing. That's not necessarily a doing. That can be a being. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing my daughter and I actually talked about yesterday. She talked something about like knowing what real love is. And I said, well, real love isn't doing. Love is being. Love is not a do. You can show people love by doing, but love itself is not being. It's not doing. I mean, it's not doing. And there's a confusion there with people. So when we say be of service, that doesn't mean you have to go physically do something. But just for example, if you're on social media, like what are you putting out there? Are you trying to be kind and friendly and raise consciousness and add value? Or are you bringing things down? Be aware of how you're affecting other people. If people are hiding you and unfollowing you, there's a reason.
Well, yeah, and it's called we're human beings. We're not human doing.
Beings,
Yeah.
human doings,
Yeah.
human beings. We're being, and we're just supposed to be and enjoy the experience and learn love and compassion and empathy and connection. And we are not meant to be divided. We are meant to be all, we are all one. We are all of the same whole. Like you see, you hear these key words like we are one, we are whole, we are united. Like
And
these words,
it will happen, and I can't wait to see like what happens in our lifetime and even our kids' lifetime, and going on from there. So it may be not as fast as we had hoped or want, but it's not always what we want, it's what we need.
yeah. Well, and two, we can also think about it because this is just our lifespan, things started shifting long before we were ever here. So it's only in our time frame that we are like, we want it now. But this awakening is
Way bigger.
it's much bigger than our little 100 years. Hopefully, if we get to 100 years or however long we live, but it's, we're here for a piece of it, but we're here for a reason. And we have a purpose, and we're both fortunate enough to have found our purpose and learned how to connect and align with the right people and not be afraid to be like, I'm good. you don't have to be friends with everybody. Not everybody is in alignment with you. So if a friendship feels good, if it works and you have good conversation and you feel better when you're done talking, that's great. But if when you're having relationships with people and they're bringing you down and they're being negative and low, and I always do that because that's what it feels like for me. It's like heavy.
It's having,
That's
yeah.
that's not in alignment. So, I could go on forever. I could go on forever about it. And I do a lot, but
Well, and I feel like people are like they want to be more conscious, or they choose not to, and they just want to go in with the blindfold, which is going to be a certain percent of the population, and that's okay. It's not going to be everybody's one way or another. It's just not. It's going to be like certain people are just choosing, and it's in their contract or whatever they have going on in their life, that they're not going to participate in that sort of agenda. They want to just stay sleepwalkers.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's not maybe a part of their soul's journey.
Yeah.
We're all of our journeys are different. We're
Yeah.
all in different places, but we're all exactly where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I just hope and pray and have faith that people do help join the collective of raising the vibration. Oh, goodness. Startled me. Jagger had to get involved in there. That was random. He thinks it's it's almost dinner time.
And I wanted to end it on like an affirmation that I love, because it kind of fits what we were talking about. And it's just a great reminder, is that, and I have it here too, all is well and everything is working out for my highest good.
Yes. Amen to that. And so it be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you can say that every single day. Do you say that every day? It's a good affirmation.
Yeah. I have it written down in my notebook, like on the first page. So it's something I look at often.
I mean, and if anyone's paying attention, like that's a great thing to look at when you wake up every day, because it also, and go to bed, because it sets your mind like, you know what, everything is working out in my highest and best good. And I'm aligning myself with everything that feels right in that time.
Mm-hmm.
Jagger agrees. I hope he can stop barking because it's dinner time.
We'll go feed them.
My vocal one. Gosh, he talks, man. All right. Well, that was fun. And that was, we were a little late on that because we didn't get live where we wanted to be live, but I will post this in the group and the community. But this is one of many, you guys. So we're going to be talking, we're going to have other people coming in, and we're going to just be talking about the rising consciousness, because that's where our hearts lie, and that's part of our mission and purpose in life. And we feel that it's time to get out there and say the things that you've been feeling for so long.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I hate it when the dogs go crazy when I'm online. Right. Well, thanks, Laura. I know you still have a full day ahead of you. It's almost nighttime here.
All right. Well, 1 o'clock here. So I will see you later.
Yes, you will. Enjoy your day.
All right. You too.
Bye.
Bye.